Hey everyone, welcome back to the garden. It's a beautiful spring morning here. Sure, it's not completely warm yet. That sun keeps just hiding behind the clouds, but you can probably hear the amount of bird song. There's robins, blackbirds, doves, every kind of songbird you can imagine. And the leaves in the garden now, they're really starting to push through. The garden is full of bright zingy colour. And today I want to look at some of my highlights of spring. It's not going to be a full spring garden tour, that will be coming soon. And it'll be interesting to see just how fast these plants develop and grow over the next month or so. But today I want to show you my spring highlights. I think the thing with tropical gardening, yes, it's still too early for the proper tender plants to go outside, but it's easy to think of evergreen plants, the structural or permanent plants, as being static. But at this time of year, they certainly put on the growth. They put on an amazing amount in such a short time, and today I want to share that with you. So let's get started. When it comes to new growth then, there's few plants as spectacular as hardy Scheffleras. And here in the garden, I grow quite a few different varieties. I grow Delave, Macrophylla, Rhododendrofolia, taiwaniana, and this Schefflera shweliensis, which is definitely a bit of a mouthful to say, but it's certainly an incredible plant. Just look at these new leaves. This Schefflera is a hardy umbrella tree, so it's essentially like the house plants you can grow, but this one is tough enough to grow outside. Sure, I would definitely give it a sheltered spot. Here in North Lincolnshire, sheltered spots are probably few and far between in the garden. But here, tucked in amongst these tree ferns next to this brick shed, it's got a lovely sheltered, humid spot where it seems to absolutely thrive in. So this is all the new growth that's come out over the last few weeks. You first see these little wispy leaves come out. They're a sort of white, silvery colour, but gradually, well I say gradually, pretty quickly, over the last few weeks, they've erupted upwards, these tiny little umbrellas held above the foliage. And it's amazing just how quickly Schefflera's put on height over this time. They can easily grow a foot a year, probably even more over the next few weeks. So it really is incredible to see that sort of explosion of new growth. This is definitely one of my favourites. Oh, here's Max just come out to see me. So this is a plant, if you want to grow it yourself, I have done a video all about hardy Scheffleras. And to be honest with you, shweliensis is probably very similar to taiwaniana, so exactly the same growing conditions apply. You need to kind of remember that plants like this, they're woodland plants. And from what I understand, they grow in these sort of humid, sort of shaded environments. So ideally, you want to recreate that in your garden. Don't let the soil completely dry out in summer, but equally, they don't want to be somewhere that's completely sat in water all through winter. So they need that sort of paradoxical mix of well-drained soil that doesn't completely dry out too. And when it comes to feeding, I don't go too heavy with the feeding. Like a lot of the tree ferns and other woodland plants, I generally try to improve the soil. So I use a mixture of mulches and then maybe a few sprinklings of chicken manure pellets and a bit of liquid seaweed around spring to summer to give them a little bit of a pep up. But either way, this is a plant that I really look forward to in spring. Just seeing how fast it grows. And this one here, it's absolutely racing towards the canopy, just to use the word absolutely for you. It's a plant that's going to size up really quickly, and these can actually form small trees. So I'm really excited to have this exotic kind of canopy hanging over these tree ferns in years to come. It's an absolute beauty. Ferns are one of the most exciting plants you can see in spring. The new growth rapidly unfurling, and here I grow a huge variety of ferns, from ground ferns like these through to tree ferns like the Cyathea medullaris, the black tree fern. And this is the frond that you might have seen on my Instagram and Facebook pages just a few weeks ago. It's already filling out really nicely, and this one is a true monster. But when it comes to ferns, in my opinion, the absolute king here in the UK are Dicksonia antartica tree ferns, and this is what I want to show you next. Compared then to the vibrant new growth from these ground ferns, the actual tree ferns here in the garden currently do look a bit underwhelming. Some of the more exposed ones have got these brown fronds caused by the frosts and winter winds, but that's all about to change because it's time for the new Croziers to come out. It's time for frond season, and I want to show you the best one here in the garden. As I head on past that beautiful Schefflera then, you'll see this plant here, which is a Dicksonia antartica hardy tree fern. Now, it's good general advice to leave the old fronds on from the previous summer until the new ones have started to unfurl. That helps keep that tree fern crown open and the plant as healthy as possible. But on this one, I've taken things a step further, and I've actually left the fronds on from the previous few years. And as you can see, it's created this fantastic brown skirt around the plant, which not only really fits the jungle vibe I'm going for, but it also must help the plant in terms of trapping the humidity, shading it from the summer sun, and also really opening that crown up. So just use my step ladders. I'll show you what is for me one of the highlights of a tropical style garden. It's the new Croziers. Just look how many there are. There's over 20 in there, all rapidly unfurling now. It really is a sight to see and something I look forward to seeing every single year. Not just to know that the tree ferns have made it, but really it's the beginning of summer for me. Yes, I know it's still spring, but when you see these unfurling, you know that we're just a few short weeks away from seeing those lime green zingy fronds stood out against blue skies. It really is a sight to see. And at this time of year, the best thing that you can do for your tree fern is keep it well watered. Now, one thing that I do, generally speaking, earlier in spring, I don't let the tree ferns completely dry out, but I don't completely soak them either. I don't really want to encourage that growth too early. But now we're in May, and fingers crossed there's no late frost forecast, it's really time to water. So what I do is I literally get a hose and basically spray the whole trunk. And the idea is to get as much moisture as you can around the whole plant. That really sets it up for huge fronds. And when it comes to feeding, what I generally do here, again, like the Schefflera, I work on improving the soil, adding some manure in winter. But then at this time of year again, I sprinkle some chicken manure pellets and maybe give them a slightly diluted drink of liquid seaweed, and they seem to do just fine. They're not heavy feeders in the way that a banana is, but these are plants that certainly respond well to a good sheltered spot, rich soil and plenty of moisture. That really is the key. Whilst there are plenty of signs of spring on the way, like the flowers in the Colocasias fortunei, it's not quite their time to shine just yet. So I want to show you some bamboo. Now, the big bamboos here, these are Phylostachys vivax aureocalis. They haven't started shooting yet, but one that has is my Fargesia robusta Campbell. And as you can see, it's well on its way. Here in the garden, for me, this is one of the first to shoot reliably every single year. And already the new Culms have got to just over 1 metre high, looking up some of the ones up there. So this is a plant that develops a fantastic sort of checkerboard look to it as they really start to open up, and those almost white culm sheaths, they stay on, and it's got a lovely contrast between those and the green culms themselves. It really is a fantastic looking bamboo and a very strong grower. Sure, these don't get quite as big as the monster vivax bamboos, but they're still a beautiful bamboo, a very useful one, and perfect for screening or creating a little bit of a windbreak like I've got them here. Like I said, they do grow on the first. They're not the biggest culms, but they still grow very quickly. They're not capable of the huge growth rates like the vivax is, but they're something that I look forward to seeing every year. And what you find is with bamboo, it's well worth starting small, because if you start off with a small clump or division, that'll expand pretty rapidly. It's not uncommon to get the actual clump doubling in size every year, and those new culms can potentially get to 1.5 times the existing ones. So you can soon get some real height very quickly. Bamboos are great for that rapid height. And if you choose a Fargesia, it's a clumper, and it's not just going to run all over your garden. So again, this is something that I really look forward to every year. We're not quite at peak bamboo shooting season yet, when the real monsters get going, but still, just to see that vibrancy, that energy, there's nothing that really captures that vertical growth just like a bamboo can. In terms of care tips then, most of what I do for my bamboo has already been done. In autumn through to early spring, I put plenty of manure down, and again, like the 2 plants I've previously shown you, for me, it's not all about maximum feeding. It's not about pouring loads of synthetic fertiliser on. It's about improving that soil. And the best thing for bamboos, as well as plenty of water, is to use a mulch of manure or other organic matter. Anything like a soil improver can work really well. And what that does is it adds fertility to the soil, it helps trap the moisture in, it helps reduce the amount of weeds, and it really creates the optimal soil environment for a bamboo to really grow efficiently. Like I said, they're a plant that puts on growth like no other, and I'm really looking forward to see these just completely double in size over the next couple of years. Fantastic to see. So obviously the garden is full of amazing new leaves, fantastic new growth at this time of year, but those are 3 of my favourites. the plants that I look forward to seeing every single year. But let me know in the comments below what exotic or tropical style plants you look forward to most in spring. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you want to know any more about growing these plants, I've done full video care guides for hardy Schefflera, for tree ferns, as well as how to grow the biggest bamboo possible here in the UK. I'll put links to all 3 of those videos in the description below. So thanks a lot for watching. I'm about to get on with some actual gardening now, but I hope you've all had a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!